Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network, World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. I am Rick Walker. It's wearing me down. Everything's wearing me down. I'm sure it must be wearing you down too. Strange times, wars. It's depressing. And it's just grinding on, isn't it? And the protests. I'm so tired. People fighting. But we'll talk about it tonight. Maybe we'll be able to find a little levity in all this. I don't know. Dragon's going to be by very shortly to join the conversation. Of course, he's been out covering the protest at McGill University, where pro-Palestinian protesters continue to camp out. The university administrators can't figure out what to do. They'll figure out something collectively, I guess, at some point. We're going to talk about what the demands of those protesters continue to be. We'll also take you shopping, because Loblaws has caved in, or Loblaws stores. The company has caved in to criticism about greed. They say they are ready to sign a code of conduct for grocery store chains. I'll tell you about it. We have a giant transport truck dangling dangerously over the edge of a bridge. We have wind turbines and a wind turbine grave. We have an update on that suspect arrested for shooting the Slovakian prime minister. And I'll tell you what that could mean. We have Biden meeting joint chiefs and combatant commanders for a meeting. We have, what else do we have? We have Pierre Poilievre, conservative leader in Canada, hammering again on the issue of taxation. So we have all that and a lot more. And wildfires. We'll update you on the wildfire situation in Canada, where the flames continue to spread, thanks largely to winds. They keep on carrying the embers, and at the same time fueling a lot of theories about what's behind these wildfires in Canada. Don't go away. More ahead right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I have to show you this because this is fresh. This is brand new in just moments ago, like literally minutes ago. This footage is from the 2nd Street Bridge in Kentucky. 33-year-old Trevor W. Branham has been charged in connection with this crash. His Chevy transport truck making its way across the bridge. We have dash cam footage. And this is, oh my gosh, this is scary, scary stuff. Let me bring it up here for you. Unbelievable. This is like a scene out of some sort of a disaster movie or a action flick. But this is real life. This has really happened. This footage just minutes ago sent to us. And there you see the truck dangling. So I need to confirm the information that we just sent to you regarding the charges. But that's the footage. And somehow, miraculously, that truck did not end up in the water, crashing. So I guess what happened here is there was a Chevy truck. It's speeding and swerving, and it weaves out of the way to avoid a stalled car in the right lane. And then a Cisco semi-tractor trailer driven by the person you see here, 26-year-old Sydney Thomas, sent her over the edge and was hanging over the river. So I hope this is clarifying things. This is the best information I have at the moment. And then, so Branham, the driver of the vehicle that you can see in the dash cam, was charged with 4 counts of wanton endangerment and 1 count of operating a suspended license. Now, he has a plea of not guilty to the charges. I don't know how old this is. This footage is just in. Let me just check this here. I'm sorry, but when this is breaking like this or something is sent to me, I'm getting the information in real time, just like you. So let me see if I can. No, this was a month ago. No, 2 hours ago. So this is fresh. This is, the crash was earlier this year. This footage, though, is fresh. That's what this is. So I wasn't familiar with this before. So this footage was shown in court. It was actually shown yesterday, but it's just being released, I guess, now. So again, I'm getting this in real time, folks, and I'm just trying to share it with you as I get it. So this incident took place earlier this year. And that's why you're hearing about these charges now. But that is incredible footage, as seen in court today. And so that the cab of that truck was dangling there for about 45 minutes before the driver was rescued. My goodness. So anyway, I hope that clarifies things. So I appreciate the person who sent that to me. And I'm sorry I had to work through the information like that to get you to the correct information, but that is the best info I have at the moment. So I think we're accurate there. And with that, we will move on to other news from today. We're going to go to Dragon here in just a minute. I just want to let you know that we're also following these wildfires out in Western Canada. They continue to spread. Still a big concern. Let me see if I can find my notes here. So we know that we have these fires that are huge, still spreading. And this wildfire season beginning earlier than it did last year. So the latest reports from the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center indicate 125 active wildfires across Canada right now. 79 of those are under control, at least that's the way they're categorized, which means that they seem to be having some success in preventing them from spreading. Another 14 are controlled enough to hold within boundaries that have been predetermined, and 32 others are spreading out of control. Alberta and British Columbia, that's where the worst of this is centered, and firefighters there are fighting the most fires, 46 in one case, 46 in the other. And I'm going to take a break. I've got a call coming in. Might be something worthwhile. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, and as I understand, that was a phone call, one of our viewers telling me that my microphone wasn't working properly again. There is something weird going on with the computer. It keeps disconnecting the microphone without my knowledge. So what I think I'm hearing is not what's going out over the internet, but I think we are fixed now. I'm just going to check the settings again. And yes, I believe we are fixed. Thank you for the call. I appreciate that. Letting me know. That's the beauty of interactive media. You guys get to participate in this whole thing and help me out, and I need it, obviously. Okay, so yeah, those fires out in Western Canada still huge problem. Let's just find out what the latest is on Fort McMurray. So the most recent information. So this is directly from the Alberta government. Wildfire danger is extreme in the Fort McMurray forest area. Alberta Wildfire currently responding to this fire, which is still out of control. Fire ban and off-highway vehicle restriction remain in effect. So it is classified as out of control, 19,820 hectares. Size reduction is due to a more accurate scan of the wildfire perimeter, and it does not mean that the wildfire has gotten smaller. It just means that they've got a more accurate measurement on it. And so they say in this latest update that fire at the closest point remains about 5.5 kilometers from the Fort McMurray landfill and 4.5 kilometers from the intersection of highways 63 and 881. As it was less active yesterday, winds from the east, 15 to 20 kilometers per hour, are forecasted for the foreseeable hours, and rain showers also forecast today. So emergency crews say this is a good opportunity for them to get in there and try to wrestle control of this thing. 172 firefighters, 22 helicopters, 57 pieces of heavy equipment currently being used to fight the flames. Firefighters working on structure protection in the Assassination neighborhood. Structure protection has been put in place for the Prairie Creek and Beacon Hill neighborhoods, as well as on the Rickards Landing Industrial Park, Gregoire Lake Estates, and Gregoire Lake 176. Alberta Wildfire and the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo have entered unified command and will work together to manage this wildfire. The cause remains under investigation. The regional municipality of Wood Buffalo has issued an evacuation order for the communities of Prairie Creek, Beacon Hill, Assassination, and Grayling Terrace. And an evacuation alert remains in place for the rest of Fort McMurray, Sapre Creek, Gregoire Lake Estates, Fort McMurray 468 First Nation, and Anzac. We will keep you up to date as best we can as we sit here. Now, let's bring in Dragon, and we'll get into a bit of a conversation now about what's been going on with that protest at McGill. He's not at the university tonight. He's in his news cave.
The Dragon Cave, actually.
Yeah, there you go, the Dragon Cave. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. Hang on. I'll let you talk to the folks while I take this call. Hang on.
So, guys, well, have you seen these last few days? Actually, I was reporting what was going on in Montreal universities, mostly at McGill University, about the demands that they have, about the diversement and the diversity of economic of the university. I've been doing my research, actually, as we didn't have really the answer of who they were actually making investment into. And I did find actually that, if I can put my screen share here, almost there. We have actually the McGill University, which has ties with basically the company called Lockheed Corporation, which actually they are made for, how you call that? It's the aeronautic actually company for U.S. Army and pretty much the complex for the American Army. So what's going on is that they put money on that, and the students actually are pretty much angry about the fact that their money is brought to these project, and they will accuse actually Lockheed to have put all their money and pretty much their armament to actually play some attack on the Israeli people. So basically, you got where the whole foundation of where it is. So I don't know if you can see my screen share here. Hopefully, there you go. It should be good. So as you can see here, one of the contractors actually is the McGill University. Actually have some trends into the company, as I was actually making some points. So this is where you get actually the whole situation globally. And that's where the accusation of the school making the divestment through wars and killing people in the same process.
Bring me up to speed here, Dragon. Maybe backtrack a little bit. What are we talking about?
Actually, McGill School have a lot of divestment, as you know, in a lot
You
of
mean
companies.
investments?
Yeah,
Investments. Okay.
they got a lot of investment in every company that you might think of. One of
Yeah.
them is Lockheed. Okay, Lockheed Martin.
Lockheed Martin. Okay.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin does actually rockets. They do like basically missiles, every type of army industrial type of thing. So basically, what's happening is that they think, well, the student think that Lockheed have put their money on Lockheed's armament, who did the attack of the 7th October 2023.
Yeah, so that's what they've been stating at all these university protests, is that they want these universities to divest in any company that has anything to do with arms sales to Israel.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And you know, these universities do have investments in the stock market, and Lockheed Martin, I guess, one of those companies that many of these universities do have money invested in, and those investments are used to, I guess, I don't know. I mean, I have to look at the books, I guess, or the financials, but
Also,
you're
if
going
you
to
look,
have money in pension funds. You're going to have money in all kinds of
so they
stock.
have all the incentive around that part. Also, yeah, they have a lot of incentive with the company Lockheed.
Mhm.
And the other part is that pretty much every university has sort of a consortium between them. We have in Canada the U15, which actually is a regroupment of university board, if you will, and they have a lot of meetings and stuff going on in there. I don't know much about them, but what I can tell you is that they have a lot of incentive too, and this is why you see probably protests going on in many schools, different names, and it's pretty much all linked. So, in sort of ways.
Yeah. So, I have questions about it. But I have questions back the other way. These people making these demands, who are they? Who are they connected to? Who's funding them? What's their motivation?
Yeah.
The reason I ask those questions is it sounds virtuous, maybe even righteous, to stand up and say, we want divestment from any company that produces weapons. We want divestment from any company involved in the military industrial complex. I get it. Who wants to fund wars? Who wants to be involved in that? It sounds noble. But at the same time, I'm a realist. And I know that the world in the geopolitical reality that we're faced with today, it's a jungle out there. It literally is a jungle. You go beyond the borders of our countries into international waters, into other countries. Our laws don't apply there. You're dealing with other nation states. They're in competition with us. These are countries with competing ideologies, competing moral and ethical values, different worldviews, different countries, leaders, and in some cases, some outright insane people who are jockeying for position and for power. In other words, other countries have weapons too. So it sounds great to sit back and say we want divestment from all these companies that produce arms, but at the same time, I would say that's great. Let's do that. But are they making the same demand of adversarial countries or other countries in general? Because I ask you this, Dragon, I mean, what do you think? What would happen if we just got rid of all our weapons?
Well, basically, we become armless, and basically, we can be killed anytime. Nobody, I mean, can you, you cannot do anything with if you don't have any weapon. You cannot, yeah. There's nothing you can do as a country. You cannot defend yourself. You cannot attack anyone who's attacking you. There's no constitutional right for the people around. Probably that can be, old because you don't have any army.
I mean, it's so these are not easy questions to answer, right? And so let's say, okay, so after World War II, the United States has the atomic bomb. What did Russia want? What did the Soviet Union want? What did they think they had to have? A nuclear bomb. And they made it their top priority, right? To acquire that, to establish a balance of power so that they were on an equal footing. What does Iran want right now? They want a nuclear weapon. What do I see going on out there with
It's only a question of balance of power.
And now we have multiple countries that have acquired nuclear weapons. We have, Israel apparently has them. Let me just find an accurate list of what countries have nuclear weapons. So according to the internet, Russia, France, China, the United Kingdom, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea. So we certainly do have a new multipolar geopolitical reality when it comes to nuclear power. Things are a lot different than they were when I was a little kid. You had Russia and the United States had these weapons. Now many countries have them. And I'm sorry, but I'm just being flooded with idiot calls again tonight from our friends who want to disrupt things here on the channel and threatening me. So that's great. So this is the reality. So my question to these protesters is, it's fine. How about we get rid of all our weapons, or we divest in our military industries that produce the weapons that we have to give us strength and our side of the balance. But the other side has to give them up too. How about that? And then I'd be real happy. Until we get to that point, I don't have an easy answer. And, if they're going to demand that the universities divest out of this, what other companies should divest? Should all companies divest? This is the question. And here's the other thing. All these virtue signaling protesters out there on the campuses here in North America, Canada and the US, you know what gives them the ability to sit there and do this and occupy that space? Freedom. Our Constitution. Those are the things that protect their rights to do that. So we honor that. But I wonder if they were to try to do that and protest against some of these other governments around the world, where maybe they don't have the same freedoms. I wonder what the reaction would be in those countries to protests like the one they're staging right now on these campuses. And I wonder if they were calling for those countries to disarm or to dismantle these companies that produce these weapons for those countries. Again, what kind of reaction would they get from those governments? I'm not hearing anybody out there. Have you heard any of them say, let's how about Russia or China? They should get rid of their weapons too. Or what about Hezbollah? What about Hamas? Should Hamas give up their weapons? What about all the rockets they fire at Israel? I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just looking at the other side.
Everyone should probably just leave their weapon altogether. That's probably the one solution for a whole country or a whole world without fear of any type of war.
Yeah, it's human beings. This is the point we've come to.
But you did hold a good point, actually, because what would you do if you don't have any weapon, actually? Well, there's always a crazy guy who's going to do a weapon to probably kill some people. So you're going to have to defend yourself against this crazy guy.
Well, I would say this, I was going to save this for another night, another time. Do I have it here? I think I do. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is here. What have I been saying about the information warfare that's been going on here over the last couple of months? I've been telling everybody, I've been reading intelligence reports, I've been researching it, and I've been saying that the information war is being funded and choreographed to a large degree by foreign governments, not our government. Everybody thinks it's the CIA, right? The CIA may have something to do with some of the things going on out there, but no, I'm telling you, it's Iran, it's China, it's Russia, it's foreign countries that are trying to disrupt things here because we are at war.
China is good at it.
Very good. And okay, I was going to save all this stuff for the next episode of Truspiracies, okay? Here's the latest edition of the National Enquirer. And actually, this absolutely is from Truspiracies, just as a sidebar. I took a trip into the future. And I went into the future. I went back to the future and retrieved this magazine. This doesn't exist yet because it's dated May 20th, 2024, and it's only May 16th today. So this is next week's news.
4 days. 4 days early.
That's right. Okay. So, all right. This would normally be for Truspiracies, but I'll share it with you now. This one story. It says right here, who's really bankrolling college protests? Front page, National Enquirer. Now, if you can't believe the National Enquirer, then you just can't believe anything at all anymore. Right? So I've been telling you over and over and over and over and over and over again. And people are like, no, it's the CIA. Okay, whatever, man. Believe what you want. But here's the proof straight from the pages of the National Enquirer. Backing up exactly what I've been telling you. Here it is. All right, here's the headline. China funding campus crisis. Right there. Now, you're going to have to wait 4 days to get it from the National Enquirer because, as I say, this won't be published until May 20th. All right. But I have it for you today. This is next week's news now here on Maverick News, courtesy of the future edition of the National Enquirer. China funding campus crisis. Intelligence experts reveal Beijing is out to destabilize the U.S. China's ruthless government is secretly fueling the explosion of radical pro-Palestinian riots at America's colleges in a nefarious effort to cripple the U.S., intelligence sources tell the National Enquirer. I had this months ago, all right? And I showed you intelligence documents, research, and more. I showed people leaked memos from the Iranian government here on the show too. The increasing chaos at some of the nation's most prestigious campuses is being meticulously organized and directed behind the scenes by thousands of sleeper agents disguised as students who were long ago dispatched by China's communist spy network, Tipsters Spill.
May I?
Right here.
May I, Rick?
Yes.
Confucius Institute, right? Remember this?
Yes.
Lot of student coming from, exchange student from many countries in China, collaboration to learn our technology, to learn our stuff, and probably to spoke the communist way. I see it coming now. Truspiracy.
It's true. I mean, this is ongoing. These are the intelligence services from other governments. The objective is what they do is they latch on to organizations, groups in the United States or Canada that are sort of anti-government to begin with. And then they these people involved in these groups may not even realize that they're getting support, but they'll funnel laundered money into these organizations. They'll fund protests. They'll fuel the protests. They'll have their online social media hacking teams or moles or trolls just send out all kinds of information online to affect the way people think about particular issues. They'll promote protests to get people out into the streets. We've been seeing a lot of that all over the world.
Well, speaking of trolls, in China, there's the 50 Cent Army, right? They are basically paid Chinese people for any who will try to critic the Chinese government. They will go like, no, our government is better than what you said. This is what you says is just lies and blah, 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 just to make us look bad. But baby, it's just what it is. They are just trying to make them look good and probably profit from there.
So it's about causing disruption. They generate social media posts, videos, memes. They're very active online. They're very good at it. The entire objective here is to really just disrupt, destabilize, undermine confidence and support in our institutions and our government itself, and then to also undermine support for military funding. I've been saying that for quite a long time. Now, see, because if you're up against a superpower like the United States, trust me, man, other countries very, very, very afraid of the U.S. and the West. Very afraid because the weapons are lethal. We're talking about nukes. We're talking about, fifth generation fighters, aircraft. We're talking about high tech weapons. So of course other countries are very afraid. And you don't really want to go head to head against an adversary like that if you can avoid it. So Russia has increased its spending. I'd have to get you the exact figures, but they've been increasing their spending on information warfare every year, both domestically at home in Russia for social media engineering, I guess, just like the United States, and also for overseas activities as well. I don't want to quote the numbers because I don't want to get it wrong, but that's the whole thing. So if you can convince people in Canada and the United States that it's not worth it to fund wars, and you undermine support for that, and believe me, it matters, and you can cut off the funding, then you can just win the war without firing a shot, or almost no shots. You cut the funding off, you win, because Ukraine won't have any way to defend itself because the United States and the West fund everything. It's the same. The same is true in Israel.
Well, if you read the Sun Tzu actually speak of winning a war without spilling blood or even shooting a bullet. That this is basically the unconventional warfare of China.
So, well, these students, and I would suggest to you that a lot of these people protesting on campus, even at McGill, a lot of them are not students. And I think that as time passes, we will find out more about that. I know that at some of the campuses in the United States where we've seen arrests even over the last 24 hours, university administrators are indicating that they will be releasing information to give us an accurate count on how many of those arrested are actually students and how many are just outside political activists. I was also seeing a report from, maybe it was Rebel Media, where they were talking about the activists. It appeared to act as some of the activists were out front negotiating with police on some of these campuses. And then as the negotiations broke down and police moved in to break up the protests, the activists would move to the back and push or encourage the protesters to move forward to engage with police so that they were the ones who got beaten. Isn't that interesting?
Well, there's a lot of it.
Pawns. Sorry, I'm just, as Jack Nicholson said in a few what was that, the movie, A Few Good Men? You can't handle the truth.
I do remember this one.
Yeah. Not that he was a nice guy or anything, but there was a dose of reality. As the Inquirer reported in 2020, sources claim nearly 8,000 Communist Party operatives from China's People's Liberation Army were unleashed on America's top universities and research centers to steal intellectual property, with most of the, I'm not going to use that word, masquerading as academics. Security expert Dr. Jim Garrow believes the same moles are also being tasked with sowing social mayhem, and they're getting away with it because do-nothing school officials are lulled into complacency by cold, hard cash. Now, there's probably some corruption there.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably some truth to that, but I think more than that, I think the university administrators are kind of lost. They don't really know what to do in some cases because they think they're caught between political correctness and a hard place. So, and when I say political correctness, you have to be politically correct on the Jewish side, and you have to be politically correct on the Palestinian side. They don't know what to do. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Difficult situation to be in, right? If you break up the protest, you're accused of violating people's rights and maybe even being prejudicial toward the Palestinian cause, and maybe even heartless because of all the dead children in Gaza. On the other side, you'll be accused of being anti-Semitic. So what are you going to do? I don't know. These are not easy things to deal with today. And as I've said before, it's like people are being forced to pick a side.
It's a good point. I was afraid at some point when I was asked, what is your take on the situation right here? As a journalist, and I was sorry, but I'm unbiased. I come here with no opinion, and I'm trying to put myself out of the any sides of the situation, because I'm not here to take any stance. I was kind of afraid that people were probably going to say, oh, so you probably pro this or that, and put me into a hard rock, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I think from what I've seen, quite a number of those protesters are not Palestinian. This is an issue that overlaps into other areas. I'll tell you this as well. My analysis, for what it's worth, my opinion, is that this isn't even so much about race or even religion. It's more about political ideology, and radicalized political ideology more than anything. Extremist political ideology, extreme left socialist ideology, which puts an umbrella over both a degree of fascism and a degree of communism. And I've been talking about this convergence of the left and the right. I don't really subscribe to the left and right, but if you want to look at it that way, it's wrapping around, and you're getting these two forms of socialism meshing together. And it does mesh very well with Sharia law, Islamic beliefs. It's the politics that is really at the root of all of this, but they're using the anger that they can generate by getting people focused on religion and race to divide people, to get people to fight in order to destabilize things, cause problems within our society, so that they can then bring in this, I would call, third wave or neo-communo-fascism, but it is absolutely socialism in an extreme form. And I'll tell you, and they're going to tell you that there's democracy integrated into this, but at the end of the day, the ideology itself is inherently undemocratic. It is by its very nature the opposite of that. It's authoritarian. It has to be, because it enforces and requires as a predicate for everything that it stands for confiscation of wealth for the purpose of redistribution in order to create equality. And so as soon as you exert that kind of force into a social structure, you are becoming an authoritarian. You're diminishing, maybe even destroying democracy, because you're effectively overlaying collectivism and taking away people's choice. You're imposing the will of the state onto everyone and making everyone conform to a very unitary social structure, political, ideological structure. And that is absolutely authoritarian. And that also, by default, leads to a form of aggression and ultimately, I would say, inevitably, a degree of violence. It can only be enforced through coercion because
And
you
chaos.
must confiscate in one way or another. So if anyone resists, you must then resort to the use of force in order to make the system work. It's not voluntary anymore.
Not false, because what I see is that, well, by standing there for like now 3 weeks, there's few people like you and I that goes there day in, day out, once in a while, because they are getting approached by probably the symbolism and probably actually the thing there. You know, they want to support the Palestinian protest at some point, but
Sure.
by growing by the days, chaos can ensue at some point, and probably this is what they are trying to do by, I would call that, discrediting our freedom of speech by creating chaos with the right of free speech. For example, I will use my free speech and say, well, I would like somebody to do some bad thing to this guy because this guy is a bad dude. Well, this is not a good way of free speech, because I'm advocating for violence on this person now, which is not a good thing. Or,
Well,
you know, barricading yourself inside a public space, for example.
well, for
And
for a
allow-
macro view, as you kind of take an overhead view of this, you see that this is a struggle right now between the West and the East. It's a struggle between, you've got the United States and Israel basically on one side, representing Western values, Western democracies, um, liberal democracies, if you want to characterize it that way, on the one side. They're the West. On the other side, you have basically the rest of the world almost lining up, right? You have the Western countries, the UK, Australia, Canada, the United States, all the NATO countries. It's the West versus the East, the way it has been for a long time. But you've also got the Middle Eastern countries involved now, all of them lined up, stacked up against Israel and the U.S., the little Satan and the great Satan, as I would say. And then but now you've got
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with here. The world's being divided in half, and we've got one side fighting against the other. One for Western sort of traditional values, right? That we've I wouldn't even say traditional, because we've gone down this road of progressivity too far, in my opinion. But still, we're the West, and they're, if you look at Russia, they'll say, well, it's not a communist country anymore. And I think that's largely true. I'm almost afraid to kind of assign any kind of particular labels or language to it, but I still see I don't know what Russia. Well, they're aligned with these Arab countries, which have embraced, I would say, fascistic economic and social systems. You have China, which is communist. You have North Korea. There's a lot of authoritarianism going on. And even Russia, even though it's not a communist country, it still has a definite authoritarian overtone to everything that goes on in the country. And there's no denying that. So this is where the battle line is being drawn. It's not even so much about the religion. That's just being used to fuel anger and get people to fight. It's a struggle for power, and from all of that, it's like who will emerge victorious with the dominant system, socialism or capitalism.
Well, something's telling me that there's also some sort of power vacuum somewhere that has been created since probably Ukraine war. And this is where the whole thing kind of...
What do you mean by a power vacuum?
Well, there's no death, right? But I mean, after Saddam Hussein and all what happened after the Gulf War and Desert War, there's a lot of, I would say, tension that has probably kind of stirred up in that direction, maybe geopolitically speaking, to a certain point. With all what happened since COVID, there's a lot of thing that, the tension has been growing for a long time. And I think that we have gone to a culminating point. It's a culmination of a lot of tension since 1994, if I'm correct. So,
well, there's no question about that. You come out of the Reagan era where he was, always he was a great believer in peace through strength, right? And he wanted lots of nuclear weapons in order to make sure the United States was strong, a very strong military. And that was something that was very effective for the United States for a long time. Right now, what we've seen since then is we've seen the spread of nuclear weapons to other countries over the decades. We've seen the United States lose its position as the dominant power to now just one of the major powers in the world. And we're seeing the economic dominance of the United States now faltering as well. And in fact, I have a clip here right now because Putin is visiting China and strengthening relations between Russia and the Kremlin. Let me see if I can find this clip for you.
That was a good point, actually. This is where I was going. The inflation of the power of the U.S. getting so high at some point that there's the vacuum between the two sides.
Yeah, this is absolutely an economic war as much as anything else. In fact, it's the economic struggle is probably the most important aspect to all of this. So let's listen to what Putin had to say in this meeting over in China.
Our timely joint initiative to move bilateral settlements in national currencies has had a great effect on our trade, and 90% of all settlements are done in ruble and yuan. We've just been discussing the further directions of our cooperation, all in the interests of Russia's and China's economies. Our timely joint initiative to move bilateral settlements.
So what he's saying is that they've dropped the US dollar. They're conducting transactions for oil and energy in other currencies. That means that demand, that's extremely significant because you take these major players, these major countries out of the economic mix for the United States, demand for the US dollar drops. If people don't want it, if other countries don't use the US dollar and demand drops, then that means that the value of the dollar will drop. If the value of the dollar tanks, the United States is in a lot of trouble. Because
Depression time.
yes, absolutely. The US dollar has been used around the world. It's the world reserve currency, right? So there's all this money out there. Tons and tons of money that has been printed. Trillions and trillions and trillions. I can't, so many trillions of dollars. Who knows even how much is out there? So if people start dump like that, you don't want it. Not only will they not be conducting transactions in US dollars, they'll dump the US dollar. And now you're going to have a flood of US dollars onto the market. It's like anything else. The more supply you have of something, the less valuable it is. That goes for currency, especially a fiat currency. And that's only propped up by oil. It's the transactions done in energy where Saudi Arabia and other countries have been demanding US dollars as the premier currency in order to buy and sell energy. You cut that in half, and you're awash in US dollars that people don't want anymore. What do you think that's going to do to the economy here? It means that our money, which is tied to the value of the US dollar, Americans, your money's not going to be worth spit. We're going to end up in an economic tailspin unless they take really drastic measures to fix it real quick. It's going to make the Depression look like, as I said the other night, prosperity. It'll make the Great Depression of the 30s. The dirty 30s will be nothing compared to what we'll be faced with if they don't get a handle on this economic challenge from these BRICS nations.
Yeah, I was actually saying that for a year, I think. Guys, careful because the economic is going down, and when it's gonna go down, remember what happened in October? It was October 29, if I do remember the date. So yeah, 1929.
Oh.
Great Depression was where everyone in New York was jumping from their rooftop and their windows.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're gonna have that 10 time fold.
Yeah, it's potentially a massive depression on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely going. This is definitely going to have an impact on the economy in a negative way. How bad it will be, it'll depend on how competent the leadership is in the White House, and to some degree on Parliament Hill here in Canada, but mostly in the White House. What kind of economic plan will they come up with to combat this? So far, I'm not seeing anything coming out of the Joe Biden administration on this front. In fact, they're still talking about imposing sanctions on different governments, using the dollar as a weapon to get things that they want politically around the world. It's not going to work anymore. You can't keep doing that. It undermines confidence in the use of the dollar anyway. That's why a lot of these countries want to get away from the US dollar, because the United States uses it as a form of leverage against other countries to get what they want. It's a weapon as much as an economic tool. Big problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a large problem with a lot of implication, and there's a lot of things that you cannot look at every part of the problem because the problem is so vague, and it's
complex. It is. I've been against the start of that war in Ukraine. I didn't want to see it happen. I don't think it had to happen. But now we're in it. And as I'm sitting here and, thinking, as I look at everything, I see that this could be devastating for our way of life here. We're under attack. We're under assault. I said these protests on university campuses are not just protests. This is an attack on the West. It's too widespread. It's too choreographed. It's too organized. It's too well funded. It's an attack of sorts on the West. It is. This is part of fifth generation warfare. It's has all the earmarks of a color revolution. And when I say color revolution, I mean it's protests ramped up, amplified to the point where it destabilizes a government, and it is a series of protests like this that are funded by foreign governments in whatever country you're looking at. The United States has done it in different countries. Other countries are doing it to us right now. This is what it is. And a lot of people just can't handle the truth, like Jack Nicholson says.
But as another point, it's true. Most of the student in McGill, probably in every university at some point, are, Canadian or whatever the country they are from. They have no ethnicity origin with Palestine, in a way, and they will protest and support Palestine in a cultural way, if you will. Where I'm asking myself, not to take a bad joke that has done one American actually on Twitter that I've seen, but he goes out with one of his big friend, can probably defend himself properly, and goes like, guys, isn't it like cultural appropriation? Like in front of like 50 people, protesting for the thing. Pro-Palestinian protester, and they go like, you guys are white people, I mean, isn't that cultural appropriation? And the people goes like, what the F? So, I mean, not because I want to do the bad joke, but I'm asking myself, is there some reality behind that joke? And you kind of made the point right here.
Well, these protesters, I'm sure they're, the vast majority of them have the best of intentions. I mean, who wants to see anybody die? Nobody likes war. Nobody likes to see anyone on a losing side of a war. So you instantly get people who are focused on the oppressed and an oppressed versus the oppressor scenario, at least in their minds. And, but in reality, there is another layer to all of this, multiple layers, really, people do not see, they're not aware of. And the people on the front lines of these protests, in many respects, as well-intentioned as they are being used. They're pawns.
Speaking of divestment for a moment, I mean, for example, I could probably divest on one company, which is probably health care type of thing or whatever. You don't know what that company probably invest into at some point. They probably do investment into warfare stuff. So me, without knowing, probably putting money on warfare stuff, making me look bad. I'm not sure.
Well, these are ethical questions people have to answer, right? But my perspective on peace through strength is that that's only half the equation. I think that the government has been getting it wrong, because they're right about peace through strength, but you also need strength through peace. And our governments have been too willing, too eager, and maybe, and in many cases, too aggressive geopolitically, so that we've engaged in far too many wars when we should have been exercising far more restraint. Just walk softly, carry a big stick, and hardly ever use it unless you're really forced to. But we've been using it far too much. So that's my opinion. We've only been getting half, maybe 60% or 65% of the equation right. We're not getting the strength through peace aspect of it right. Hopefully we can rectify that in the future. But I'll tell you this, the answer is not to simply just get rid of all our weapons. It's very convenient for people on the other side when you have a whole army of protesters out there demanding that money be pulled from the defense industry. Serves other countries very well, doesn't it? I wish I had a better answer for you, folks, because I'm no fan of spending money on a bunch of weapons. But I'm also aware that if we aren't able to defend ourselves, we're in for a whole world of hurt. That's the reality. Sorry, but it's just true.
And remember that, guys, weaponry for a country, defensively speaking, it's always a pull economically. So this is where you get your economy going on and prospect in a way. So
Yeah,
Without that, you cannot have food, you cannot have anything, because actually one will touch the other at some point.
yeah.
Every economy is linked together.
Yeah, the economy is linked in many respects to the military-industrial complex, but at the same time, there is a lack of perspective on this, because as big as the budgets for military spending are, they're not even the biggest. Like, I think if you, for instance, looked up just what was, I'll look it up here. What was the revenue for Lockheed Martin in 2022? Say, okay,
Mhm.
65.98 billion. Now, what was the revenue for Google in 2022? 283 billion. So Google's 283 billion, just Google. Lockheed Martin 65 billion. So you see what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
it plays a part, but Lockheed Martin itself as a company is not even as big as Google. So you start looking at a lot of other industries, and there's a lot of other stuff that feeds the economy. In the minds of people, the military industrial complex is the dominant driving force behind the US economy. It's one factor. I say we need it because we have to have weapons, because we need strength or peace through strength, and strength through peace. But in order to have that strength, you need to keep these industries going. We need to root some of that corruption out, some of the black market stuff that's been going on, and wayward weapons and black market sales and things like that. But these are sidebar issues. I don't know. Am I making any sense to you, Dragon?
Oh, actually, you do. Strength through peace, to me, basically spells equilibrium of power between countries. If one is not equilibrate with the other one, they will want what the other guys has. You don't have. I don't have this toy. I want it.
It's the other thing is, like, I see a lot. I'm what I'm witnessing right now too is a lot of online pundits, peace activists who even just a couple of years ago were out there at peace rallies, rallying for peace, and they're not saying they're not calling for peace so much now. It's like when you when you want a ceasefire, you want a ceasefire when you're losing. You want to. It's like if you, if you go and punch somebody in the nose and then run away, right? You want to have no punchbacks, right? That's
I
what you
used
want,
to do that when I was a kid.
right? Right. So it's the same thing. So I've seen a lot of people who in the past were calling for peace, and then the Ukraine war started, and then they weren't peace activists so much anymore. A lot of loose language out there, and falsehoods, facades put up in front of people pretending to be peace activists who aren't really advocates for peace at all. But anyhow, that's another thing. I don't know. Weird, just strange. I didn't expect this conversation to go down this road really like this tonight, but
Well, we did go down the rabbit hole for a moment, that's for sure.
I wish it was a rabbit hole, but it really isn't so much a rabbit hole because it's so very real. And that's why we're seeing, everything is very real right now. And it seems like we're repeating, or at least echoing, rhyming with history. We see this Robert Fico, the prime minister of, the Slovak prime minister, he was shot. And now we see that the name of the suspect has been released. It's and it's interesting how the media is portraying this guy. His name is I want to make sure I try to pronounce it. Juarez and Chula. Media is saying that he's a writer and a poet. But I'm telling you, man, I'm thinking that there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. This has all the similarities. It's so similar to what happened prior to World War I, in my view. The Slovakian prime minister shot. I'm hearing different reports. Some say he was shot 3 times. Others are saying there were as many as 5 shots fired. Critically injured. Took
I've
one
heard
bullet
5.
apparently in the stomach, another one in the arm. Very seriously injured. Assassination attempt. Now, this is some would say far left, others would say a far right politician, certainly a populist, definitely one of these anti-Ukrainian war advocates. I think he came out and said that he would, I think he wanted to pull funding from Ukraine. So what was the motivation behind all of this? Others are describing him as pro-Putin, pro-Russian. Anyway, here's a picture of the guy who was taken into custody. And I really have to wonder what more there is behind him. He was in the crowd. Nobody was really taking notice of him. And so, there are things that he's written in his poems saying that he grew up to be someone who strikes back. 8 years ago, he initiated the creation of a movement called Against Violence and published a statement about it online. He previously worked as a security guard. During that time, he apparently was badly beaten by a man in a shop. His neighbors say, at least some of his neighbors say, they were shocked about the shooting of the prime minister. A lot of people say say this guy's a nice guy. They say he was a fantastic man. And they don't understand what's happened. I don't know either. I do know that over here, a lot of people are suffering from mental illness. I think people are being subjected to a lot of information warfare that is putting people on the edge and even triggering some people to take part in violent acts. I've talked about that in previous episodes.
True.
Whether that's the case here or not, it would not surprise me at all if that kind of thing is going on around the world. But I'll tell you, this right here, as I say, just reminds me so much of what happened before World War I. Do you have any thoughts at all, Dragon?
Well, my thought about this guy is, I don't know. I'm not sure about this story. I mean, I don't know much about this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't risk myself to put any statement on this one. But
Well, I made a few notes about what happened just prior to World War I, and many point to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in 1914 as the moment that sparked the outbreak of World War I. So here we are with this assassination attempt. And so if you look back, it was on, and I've just got notes here that I put together just before the show, June 28th, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie were assassinated in Sarajevo, Bosnia, by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist. The assassination was carried out by members of the Black Hand, a secret society seeking to promote Serbian nationalism and oppose Austro-Hungarian rule in Bosnia. The assassination set off a chain reaction of events. Austria-Hungary seeking to punish Serbia for the assassination and to assert its dominance in the Balkans, issued an ultimatum to Serbia with harsh demands. And then Serbia failed to comply with all those demands. Austria-Hungary then declared war on Serbia in July of 1914. So then the conflict escalates as alliances came into play. Russia, which was Serbia's ally, mobilized its forces to defend Serbia. Germany, Austria, Hungary's ally, declared war on Russia. This triggered a series of declarations of war among the European powers, with France, Britain, and eventually many other countries becoming involved. It set off a chain reaction. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand is seen by many as the immediate cause of World War I. But
so the question is there probably a link to that? About what happened today. The assassination attempt will probably bring World War III. Probably. We don't know.
I don't know. I mean, in this case, I'm not seeing governments use it as a reason or justification for further escalation, at least not yet. But the fact that this has happened, and an unsuccessful assassination, it was an attempt, whereas in World War I, it was successful. But in this particular case, not successful, governments being, I think, more careful about their language. I'm seeing the politicians on both sides of this world conflict, both sides condemning it. So no saber rattling yet, but it puts us in a very dangerous place, especially if more information comes out about this, or one side decides to use it to inflame things. If one side's more upset again over something else, I don't know. This was a very dangerous situation, though. If he had been killed, for instance, I think it might have been a much worse situation. If he dies, I think we might be in a much worse situation.
Yeah, probably the power vacuum there would trigger something probably more intense than what we have geopolitically already.
Yeah, and I think what's going on in Ukraine is more important than people realize now, because we've progressed to a different place with that conflict. I think it's more dangerous now than it was when it started.
Yeah, well, the Baltic is at risk of starting the war. So that's what it is. And Ukraine is part of the Baltic, if my memory is correct. So,
well, I think that, as much as we hear that Russia doesn't have any desire to take over all of Ukraine, doesn't have a desire to expand beyond Ukraine, the truth of the matter is they still view the West as a threat. The United States is a big threat. And so they're acting accordingly and in their own best interests, as any nation state would. So the situation in Ukraine is such that, they're using this as an opportunity to weaken NATO as much as the West is using this as an opportunity to try to weaken Russia. So the objectives, while the war itself may be somewhat contained within the borders of Ukraine, the political objectives long-term, the military objectives as well, extend far beyond that globally.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing. I've been hearing some report about Lukashenko that has brought his army on certain border on the behalf of
Belarus.
Russia. So,
yes. And, you see Russia with these drills using tactical nuclear weapons. And as I've said, in spite of what we keep hearing from these other pundits, it's like it's over. The war is over. It's all done. No, it's not. No, it's not. The aid is beginning to arrive again. Ukraine is being entrenched again. Russia is still, I believe, advancing, but this war is not over. There's still a long haul ahead of us, I think, because both sides seem to still be determined to achieve greater victory in some respect. So not over, not over.
And people who says that war is over, well, I'm sorry, guys, but do your homeworks, because they are on, Russia is pretty much on the line of Poland right now. So if you look at it this way, Poland was where World War II started. So,
And it's a different scenario now too, because Poland has a much larger military force, one of the most powerful military, um, one of the most powerful countries militarily in that part of the world now.
yeah.
So it's a different situation than it was in World War II. I'm not sure where that will go. I don't think Putin or Russia have a desire to go into Poland or escalate beyond that, but I think that they will go to great lengths to weaken NATO, maybe not through kinetic warfare, but through diplomatic channels to put cracks between help develop or exacerbate cracks in the relationships between NATO countries in order to make it break apart. And if Ukraine is not successful, if they're not victorious, or if they can't protect their country and their sovereignty in this conflict, such as it is, I think that NATO is in real jeopardy, honestly, in the long run. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
why I think this war is more consequential, will be more consequential than people here realize. Can you imagine what the world would be like if NATO breaks apart? Again, this is a way to destabilize, break up, undermine that power, that block of power that NATO has represented, that U.S. power globally. So you break that up, and it's a whole new ballgame geopolitically. Because
NATO is world police, so yeah.
Because on every front, these other countries, these BRICS nations, they're all aligning on various fronts to rival the West with military power, combined military power, combined economic associations, and a combined economic power. So everything is an affront on various in each area against what the United States and the West have set up since World War II. Times they are a changing.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember in World War II what we call the phony war?
The phony war?
Yeah, well, just right before it started. Basically, where the French was looking at the German coming from in their direction, just posting their guys and not even alerting friends about what was going on. And World War II started at some moment, and nobody were just ready yet to do anything. France didn't even prepared, looking at the German advancing toward them and placing their I think it was around Belgium, if my memory is correct.
Yeah. So this was just before World War II. I'm just getting reference on it here, pulling it up. 8-month period at the start of World War II, during which there was only one limited military land operation on the Western Front. When French troops invaded Germany's Saar district, Nazi Germany carried out the invasion of Poland on the 1st of September 1939, and the phony period began 2 days later with the declaration of war by the United Kingdom and France against Germany, after which little actual warfare occurred and ended with the German invasion of France and the Low Countries on the 10th of May 1940. The history goes on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. Things very much the same and yet kind of different.
There's similitude, but the similarity is basically the geopolitic thing. But we are in the era where actually you have more technology than what you had, right? I mean, everything is different right now because of the technology that we have. And you wouldn't have the same info warfare, if you will, or information warfare back in the days if internet was not a thing. I mean, internet today have changed the information being given to anyone at a certain point. And this is where you get too many information coming from each side. You don't know which one says right. So,
well, when we're talking about economic warfare, we're paying more for everything because there's been so much money printing. That happened during the pandemic when the government started just printing free money to hand out to companies and to individuals to get people through the pandemic in order to keep liquidity in the market. And because of these wars as well, all the money printing that has gone into funding the wars has fueled inflation. So today I have for everyone a bit of a treat here. I thought we would go shopping because inflation continues to be a major issue for people. And today we're seeing that the head of Loblaw stores has agreed to sign a grocery code of conduct. Now, that will pave the way for an agreement that has been years in the making after the companies, these grocery store giants in Canada, have been accused repeatedly of being greedy. They're being accused of fueling inflation through corporate greed. I'll tell you, it's money printing, but politicians like Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau will tell you it's because they're just putting the prices up because they're making more money. No, the money's worth less. But anyway, 6 months of negotiations, and what do we have now? A grocery store code of conduct, and the executives at Loblaw stores say they are ready and willing to sign it as long as other retailers sign it as well. And I can understand that. So this is something that will affect all grocery stores. So what's Walmart saying about it? They have a company statement today saying they just received the latest draft of this grocery store code of conduct that had not previously been shared with them. They're going to review it and then decide what to do after that. And so Loblaws has been really taking it on the chin. Before we go shopping, and I have video at a couple of grocery stores here with some prices. How are you finding the inflation on your end, Dragon?
how do I fight inflation? Doing less groceries, trying to get more food bank and stuff like that. That's how I do.
Wow. So.
And dollar store are good.
Okay, I went to Shoppers Drug Mart. I went there. This wasn't today. This was a few days ago. And I went there because Shoppers Drug Mart, which some people know, other people's maybe aren't aware, is now part of the Loblaw store chain. So they have they have the same products at the drugstore in their food aisles as they do at the grocery stores. So I thought, well, we'll take a look at the prices here, and let's just take a little trip down the aisle for the breakfast cereals, shall we? So here you see,
About $5 here, $9.
$10 for a box of cereal. I mean, holy wow. Okay.
Oh well,
and
we got one almost $5 just on top of this one at $7 or $8. Yeah,
$8 for mini wheats. It's wheat. $8 for a box of wheat. $7.99 Canadian plus. Now I don't think there's going to be sales tax on that because it's not fast food. Now there's Rice Krispies for $4 and a big box. That's a deal.
Hope you like Rice Krispies, guys. Buy some marshmallow with that.
Okay, butter. Blocks of butter. $6.29 for a block of butter. Come on. $6.29. I've seen it as high as like $8, $7.99 for a block of butter.
My heart's broken. Not so long ago, it was about like $3.
Yeah. It's more than doubled. Now, these are sale items, of course, on the end caps. That's where you get your deals. And that's the end of that.
Wow.
I've got more. I don't know.
Remember like 20 years ago when you go to the stores and you had like 2 chocolate bar for about $1, probably. Now it's like $3 for the same 2 chocolate bar in every store, or yeah.
Well, I don't even buy like confectionery like that anymore. Like I not that I ever really did. I just don't buy treats and chips and stuff like that. It's not my thing. But for people who do, I think it's a little overwhelming on the pricing side. So again, is this the video we just ran? I think so. Yeah, okay. Let me get rid of this. I've got more. Here we go.
Oh, I like some sweets or chips once in a while. I'm not a big fan. Well, no,
Yeah.
that's untrue. I love chocolate.
All right, let's go shopping at Walmart now. I thought Loblaws keeps taking it on the chin, right? Everybody's attacking Loblaws stores. Let's go to Walmart, I thought. So I also made a recent trip to Walmart. And that still isn't the right video. Hang on. Here we go. I need this one. We want Walmart. Now, the gimbal on my little camera was playing games with me, but I think we're still okay on stuff being more or less framed up. I was trying to do some funky driving with the shopping cart while I was here. Bananas, 58 cents a pound. Is that a good price, do you think? 58 cents a pound? Seems reasonable. I kind of remember a while back where like 49 cents a pound. So there's a bit of an increase there. Here's the deli counter. $6 for a package of luncheon meat, turkey breast. And again, luncheon meat's $6.27. Let's eat some of that crap.
Well, the store next to my house, Super C, you used to have like a big pack, for example, of meat for your sandwiches for $5. Now it's about $7 and $8 now for the same pack, and it's not the best thing.
Now here's bread, a loaf of bread, $3.57. Doesn't that seem like a little bit crazy? It does to me. Like, it's bread.
I buy my loaf of bread at Dollarama nowadays because it's about $2.
Yeah.
See the point? I mean,
Yeah.
I even have to, build on my own gimbal to do the job.
Wow. Yeah.
Or repair.
Our little shopping spree or excursion through Walmart continues now. And here's the cereal aisle to compare prices. So we saw some cereals from that Shoppers Drug Mart at like $10. Rice Krispies on sale for $4. That was a deal. I will say, sold out of whatever that is. Multi-save 2 for $8. There's mini wheat. So that's $4 a box.
That's a deal.
That is a deal.
I mean, you can buy twice for the same price at the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I I bought a bag of potatoes when I was there. So I would say the prices there at the Walmart, not that I go to Walmart that much, but I did to get that video. So I was killing two birds with one stone, doing a little grocery shopping while I shot some video to share with everybody to do some price comparisons. I would say, yeah, Walmart, I think they have better pricing. Well, it's certainly better pricing than the Shoppers Drug Mart. What's your experience? Where do you get the best deals?
Super C is one of the best deals. What I got to is, yeah, Dollarama is the best thing around. Those are closed. Well, close from home. What about the? Well, it's pretty much where I go, and bank foods and stuff like that. So it's the usual. When you don't have enough money to afford yourself, I will buy some rice, stuff to do some soups, mostly.
Yeah.
That's what I like. Salads. Yeah, I eat kind of healthy too. Bits of pizza, sometime frozen pizza for the days when you don't spend time in front of the oven for too long.
So what stores do you prefer to shop at?
Mostly Super C as well. They have mostly the
Super
C. Yeah, it's a brand. I think that
C.
you got that probably only in Canada or in my region, actually, Quebec.
Okay.
It's a small brand actually, and they mostly will try to get their price lower than the others. But you got Metro and IGA. I got to look into everyone sometime just to see which one is like.
Now that was a deal. A bag of potatoes for $5 in sort of generic packaging at the Walmart store. And then if you went with the other potatoes, they were, about $7-8 for a 5-pound bag. I'm a crazy shopping cart driver. You don't want to come near me, man, when I am wheeling through the vegetable aisle. Fruits and veggies, aisle 7, clean up. Rick's back. Came out of turn 4, wiped out. And then, of course,
somebody's screaming in the back.
Yeah. I have to recenter the gimbal. Okay. So this stuff's all on sale. This is the stuff you're supposed to buy because they put it on sale. Mustard for $1.94. And that's a Gruawi Mahin for $1.97. Don't ever buy that. We have coffee and Ritz crackers. I didn't get the price on those. Oh, see, clean up on aisle 7. Right there. Somebody spilled something.
I used to do that. That was my old job.
Pineapples for, I think, $1.97. Can of pineapple, crushed pineapple. Excuse me. Coming through. Crazy driver. Excuse me. I don't know. Are you? So I went through. I did all this, and then I thought we could take a look at an old flyer, see if there's much of a price difference from one year to the next. But I'm not sure if there's enough information from this excursion to help us out here on the inflation front. $5 for spices, cinnamon.
Oh yeah, spices has been growing.
Watch me make a U-turn here. That's totally illegal. The shopping cart police were on my tail. I had to step on it. Try and hightail it out of there. Mushrooms, they were $1.29 for cans of mushrooms. Used to be
Almost a
99
deal.
cents. So they were always 99 cents. It used to be 88 cents, actually, a couple of years ago, but a year ago they were 99 cents. Now they're $1.29. That's a major increase. Like that's in 1 year about 30% more.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There's another thing, a thing that have changed in the years, and yeah, I used to go buy things, like a millionaire, even though I've never been a millionaire, and today I feel pretty much like a poor guy.
Okay, so
What is
here's an old Loblaws store flyer from a few years ago. Let me show you. This is from 1 year ago. So here are the prices from a year ago. Where did we go with my tab? So I can scroll down for you. Right there. Okay. So no direct comparisons here. I should have maybe lined this up prior to, but coffee, $6.50.
Well, look,
Indigos, $5.
that same can of filtered coffee, right?
Yeah.
It's about $11 now. It was $6 back in the days, a year back.
Yeah.
Imagine, guys, we're speaking about $5 augmentation in a year.
It adds up, man. By the end of the year, that takes a big chunk out of your income.
Oh, it
When
does.
you take 20, 30, over the last, since the pandemic, I would say some prices have increased like anywhere from 50 to 100%. In some cases, prices have doubled for certain items, right? So that's a big kick in the pants.
And let's not talk about technology. I mean, sure that technology of yesterday costs less than the new version of today, but still, you don't want to buy something that was a year or 2 year old because it's still pricey. You want to go for something that was like 5 or 6 year old.
Another interesting thing that happened today, I think it was today. I'm pretty sure this was just today. Republican Thomas Massey has introduced End the Fed, the Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act. So he wants to get this passed, and I'll show you. And we're talking about this assault on not just Western countries, but on Western economies. And here's an assault on our system, such as it is from within, from this politician. He says Americans would be better off if the Federal Reserve did not exist. The Fed devalues our currency by monetizing the debt, causing inflation. And so I know that people in their minds think that the Fed is, the problem. These economic questions are considerably more complex, I would say, though. So ending the Fed, well, what are you going to replace it with? I'm not sure we're getting.
It's not a good idea because now you would end up with a lot of trouble economically speaking.
It will certainly upend everything. We'd be looking at an entirely different system.
Because everything's work with that economic, and the fiat. So if one of those fall, everything's fall.
The question I have is it just coincidence that this is being introduced at this time when Western economies are under such attack already, under such stress from foreign governments? And now you have this guy introducing that, which actually mirrors what has been tried at least once in the past. And I doubt very much that this will get any traction or go anywhere. But, just to gain some notes I made just as we were about to come on the air here. So, what does the Federal Reserve actually do? Well, it serves several crucial purposes within the United States and Canadian Western financial system. Monetary policy. It manages the nation's monetary policy primarily through controlling the money supply and setting interest rates. And of course, so that's in conjunction to some degree with the politicians in charge. They use tools like open market operations, reserve requirements, and the discount rate. The Fed influences economic activity, aiming for stable prices, maximum employment, and moderate long-term interest rates. The Fed also supervises and regulates banks and other financial institutions to make sure the stability and safety of the financial system. It involves reserve requirements, conducting bank examinations to make sure they have enough funds on reserve to meet demand for the public coming in to make withdrawals so you don't get bank runs. And they establish regulations to promote the soundness of the banking sector. They have a payment system oversight. The Federal Reserve oversees and facilitates the smooth functioning of the payments system, which includes check clearing, electronic fund transfers, automatic clearinghouse operations, and that all ensures the efficient movement of money all through the economy. It has provided for a long time financial stability within our system. It plays a crucial role in maintaining that stability. They monitor and address systemic risks in the financial system, and that involves identifying potential threats to stability and implementing policies and regulations to mitigate those risks. Of course, they keep inflating things, and that's a problem. And those on maybe the more socialistic side, anti-capitalists, if you will, they'll point to inflation as being a serious problem. The Federal Reserve also acts as the banker for the U.S. government, handling its banking transactions. It issues government securities and manages the government's accounts. It's a financial system that allows the U.S. government to work not only domestically and within itself and, with its own citizens, but also internationally as well. So that's what it is. You take that away and you're going to have to replace it with something. And what that would look like, I'm not exactly sure. But, we're looking at already the integration of halal mortgages and other kinds of economic systems that people want to overlay onto our financial system here. And again, I think the timing is maybe not coincidental.
No, it's on design, I believe, too. I will agree. There's a lot of it is by design.
So,
but how would you do a sort of a world war if not attacking the enemy in every prong?
I don't know. Here's Pierre Poilievre talking about axing the tax again today. Still nipping at Justin Trudeau's heels. In this case, he's been pushing today for Trudeau to give Canadians a reprieve from the carbon tax, even though at this point we don't have the tax axed. Poilievre is asking for a pause on the carbon tax. Here he is at a gas station.
Watch everyone now in English. It's great to be back in British Columbia, where I used to take my family vacations when I was a kid. I was raised by two school teachers. We didn't have a ton of money, but we could always afford a road trip in the summer. And where else do Albertans go but to BC? Our favorite spot was the Okanagan. We used to get on the road and drive our way out and camp near Penticton. And, it was in a tent, not in a fancy chalet. We weren't able to rent jet skis or motorboats, but we did have those fun little paddle boats, and we did a lot of swimming, campfires, roasted marshmallows, and hot dogs. Those are great memories. good times that every Canadian should be entitled to enjoy, especially when they work hard. But unfortunately, after 9 years of just inflation, of the federal government under the Liberals and NDP doubling the debt, printing $700 billion of cash, and piling on punishing carbon taxes, the vast majority of Canadians are struggling just to eat, heat, and house themselves. A vacation is not even in the cards. And when they show up at the pumps to gas up, if they do go on a family vacation, they're forced to pay $2 a liter here in British Columbia. It's not much better anywhere else. This is in part, of course, due to Trudeau's carbon tax, a tax that he and the NDP want to quadruple to 61 cents a liter. They want to hike your gas price by 61 cents a liter. No wonder 2 million Canadians are stuck at food banks every single month. 8,000 have signed on to a Facebook group called the Dumpster Diving Network, where they share tips on how to eat a meal out of a garbage can. No wonder 15 to 20% of Canadians have gotten sick because they've eaten past due food, having no choice due to the high price of groceries. After 9 years of Trudeau, housing costs have doubled, and Vancouver is now the third most overpriced housing market in the entire world, worse than New York, Chicago, London, England, and even Singapore. Here in BC, it's impossible for families to ever afford a home because it requires more than 100% of the average family pre-tax income to make monthly payments on the average home, according to RBC. And 76% of youth who don't own homes believe they never will. Justin Trudeau and the NDP are not worth the cost, crime, and corruption. The good news is life was not like this before Trudeau and the NDP, and it won't be like this after they're gone. Common sense conservatives will bring home a country where hard work pays off with a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods. We will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. But in the next year and a half, Canadians are struggling, and they are unable to even afford a vacation. They need a break, for God's sakes. And that's why common sense conservatives are calling for an end to gas and diesel taxes from Victoria Day till Labor Day to give Canadians a summer break. We call on the Prime Minister to do this. It will reduce gas prices by 35 cents a liter, allowing families to get on the road and go off to their favorite campsite, maybe a cottage or a cabin, do some fishing, some hunting, or just get away for a weekend. Canadians need that now more than ever with how miserable things are going in this country of ours. It's a common sense step that the government could do. And if you wonder how we could pay for it, this Prime Minister is spending $21 billion on consultants. $21 billion. Money that could be in the pockets of Canadians. 100% increase on the money going to high-priced consultants like those that gave us the Arrive scam scandal. Cut back on those consultants. Put the money back in the pockets of Canadians. Give Canadians a fuel tax holiday of 35 cents a liter from Victoria Day all the way to Labor Day. This is the least that we could do. And in the long run, we will bring back the country that we knew and still love, a country where hard work pays off with powerful paychecks that buy affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods. That's the country we knew. That's the country we love. It's the country that we're going to bring home. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now have time for a few questions from the floor.
Okay.
Mr. Polyev, this is Neetu Gupta with Global.
Here, we'll just pull this. So I'll throw this over to you, Dragon, for a first comment.
Well, strong word. True that urban spice through the acts from the tax for a too long time. Look, I live into a place where actually I will pay only 25% of my revenue, right? Because I'm with the National Office of Montreal Habitation. And the thing is that even if I pay 25% of my revenue, I still have a little bit of a hard time to get around everything. So make it what you will, guys, but I don't pay as much as you do, and I struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Says a lot.
Yeah, these tax hikes are the hardest on people who have really spent their lives doing the right thing, and then Trudeau comes along and kicks the crap out of your savings, right? So if you've worked hard all your life, you've saved your money, invested your money into RSPs or even the stock market, or you've struggled to pay off your mortgage over time. Maybe even you're really lucky, and maybe you even do have another residence, or maybe a cottage because you've been successful. Now with the capital gains tax, you'll end up paying 60, I think it's 66%. On the capital gains that you make when you sell that asset, right? So it's Trudeau really saying to people who have tried to do the right thing and save for the future so that you can take care of yourself, so you're not a burden on society, so you've got a retirement income for yourself when you retire, so you're not just feeding off the state, you're not reliant on welfare. He's saying, no, this is mine. I'm going to take it. And then I'm going to redistribute it the way that I want, while he flies around on his jet sets all over the world, wines and dines on the finest caviar and champagne on his flights, and stays at these resorts when he goes away on vacations at
And
thousands
fancy
of dollars
hotel.
a night. What's that?
And fancy hotel.
Yeah, he'll spend as much on a vacation as some people make in an entire year. Some people, it takes 2 years to make what he spends on one vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And then he increases our tax level to this. And he's going to add another 60 cents per liter to gasoline. I mean, it's already between $1.50 and $1.80 a liter now. And you add that kind of price to the cost of fuel, it's going to cripple the economy. People can't afford it. And if you're retired on a fixed income, you're just living on your pension and whatever retirement funds that you've saved all your life for, then he comes along and through inflation, which is a form of taxation, he takes half of that away from you. Like it's just gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like chopping it's like you were working for half of all along, you think you're going to have it. You're saving for the future, doing the right thing. And then the government comes along in the end and they just chop it in half and take it from you.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it in such a way that a lot of people don't even realize. They just say, gee, things are really expensive. Yeah, it's the government. It's Trudeau. He's doing it to you. It's immoral is what it is. And that's not capitalism. That's an overreaching government.
Not so long ago, I was able probably to put 20, probably 25 or $30 on the side. And this little economy that I did not so long ago already gone because everything went up.
Yeah. And
not only that, internet bill is turning up too. So it's like, how can you, deal with all the struggle that you have? It's struggling for everyone,
Yeah, I'm just looking in the chat here to see what other people are saying about all of this. And let's see. Dennis says, what's the price of a bottle of ketchup at Loblaws? You can get 2 at the same price at Costco. Yeah. I mean, it depends on where you shop, right? But the thing about Costco is they always have large sizes. You have to buy more quantity, which is one of the reasons things are cheaper. Plus, you buy that membership up front, so you have to factor that in as well. But if you shop there regularly, I think you can save a lot. What else do we have? Yeah, SW says, look at the price of gas. It is terrible, isn't it?
Hmm. I'm lucky to be a walker and a stroller on bike. So
Yes. Yeah. That's why I don't buy new cars. They're just too much money.
I never had a permit. Actually, I always been walking my whole life. So
I think cars are important because they give you mobility. They are a tool. They help you get a better job. If because you can get back and forth to work. You can. It's a time machine. It compresses time for you. You can cover large distances in a shorter period of time, so it makes you more efficient if you use it as a tool that way. It also, when I was young, it taught me responsibility. Today's kids, they miss that. It's because I wanted to drive and I wanted a car, so I went to work and I earned the money working to get a car. And then once I had the car, I had to take care of the car, and I valued it and took care of it because I'd worked so hard for it. So it taught me responsibility. And I learned how to fix it myself so that I wasn't reliant on mechanics all the time. Again, teaching me responsibility, right? And
my
a
dad
lot.
used to tell me this is how his dad teach them how to be responsible in a way. I mean, your car is everything. You need to, work for the car, make sure that the car is running a-okay, so you can go to work. If you don't do any of that, you're screwed. So basically, it's the first start of
Dennis. Yeah. Dennis says rich people trying to relate to poor people. PP can pee off. Yeah, well, he is a little more privileged than most of us, isn't he? Yeah. And then it says work hard so you can get a raise. Yeah. Isabel says, good for you, Dennis. And Dennis again says, as he fills up his gas tank with the company credit card compliments from the Canadian taxpayer, he's completely out of touch with, well, there's that aspect to it too. That is true. He is on the public payroll, isn't he? And Alicia says, I want to know how Trudeau went from 9 million to over 90 million in 8 years. Is that an accurate number? I keep hearing things like that, but I hear varying figures. I'm going to just type in what is Justin Trudeau's net worth. Yeah, so Justin Trudeau's net worth, according to Quora, for whatever that's worth, is 97 million US dollars. In addition to an annual salary of $379,000, Trudeau earns millions more through his investments. His father, Pierre, did leave him a sizable amount of money. He had investments, and he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. There is no question about that. He cannot relate to regular people like you and I, Dragon, and our viewers, that's for sure.
Oh, I think he views us probably like his percent.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you I saw? Do you know that Mercedes Benz that Justin Trudeau has been photographed on? That belonged to his dad. Now it's his. I've seen that car up close. Here it is. Have you ever seen? You know the car I'm talking about? The 300 SL.
300 SL, I think I do.
The vintage Mercedes.
Then I've seen a few in up front. I did once or twice.
Okay, so that's Justin Trudeau's car, right? So that's a Mercedes 300 SL, and that's a 1960. Now, what's the average price for what is a 1960s 60 Mercedes Benz SL worth? What do you think it would be worth? How about there's one for 120,000, 157,000, 129,000, 143 US. It would depend on condition, of course, right?
Yeah. For a perfect clean condition, I would probably say easily 5,000 on 500, 5,000. Let's go more than that. No, I would say 50,000 is too low. 500,000.
I'll guarantee you this: that Mercedes-Benz is worth way more because that one was his dad's, as I understand it, and even if though because it belonged to him, it now has enhanced value because he's a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
So if that were to go to auction, that would bring a pretty penny. I bet you that car would bring $500,000, 600,000. So that he's sitting on $500,000 in that picture. Now, I know Justin is going to be really jealous because you know what I have? You know what my son helped me find? Well, he found it and asked me if I wanted it. And so we bought it. You know what it is, Dragon? A 1996 Honda Civic, 4-door, automatic.
1996.
Oh, yes. It's posh. It's worth about, I don't know, a bag of chips. I'm fixing the thing up because they're super reliable.
Back in the days, they were the best car.
Oh, yes. And this thing, it's probably still only at its age, it's in remarkably good condition, even though it doesn't look like much. I'm going to call it the Millennium Falcon. because it might not look like much, but it's got it where it counts. Just like Han Solo said in Star Wars. So I'm going to call it the Millennium Falcon. I'm fixing it up. So Justin Trudeau, eat your heart out. And it'll be more reliable than his Mercedes-Benz SL too. Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do when I'm going to be famous? I'm going to put this thing probably on sale and for a good price because it's meant to a celebrity.
It'll be an eBay collectible. You're already famous. You've been doing a lot of good work out there at the university, covering that story at McGill. And
the thing is that famous is not my thing. I just want to show people the world what it is in Montreal, you know. Lots of people doesn't know what it is look like. They don't know how the people is, the cultural field that we have. It's another planet here. So
yes. So anyway, with all that being said, Dragon, I think it's probably just about time to wrap it up for the night. It's been kind of a strange news day today. Everything feels a little bit off, but maybe that's just me. Beautiful day outside, though, and I think I'm going to go out and enjoy the beautiful night with my pooch, Cosmo. I'll throw it over to you for some final thoughts tonight. Give the people something inspirational.
Inspirational? Well, guys, I got the good inspiration for you. Doesn't mean none to get on a camera and go out. Just take a little gimbal that you can repair yourself, you know. Doesn't mean much. A little bit of rope, a little bit of something. Dollarama a little older that you can put on the thing. And have you seen what I've done with that for 2 weeks now? It's been clear. It's been fun. And, you know, you just get some good footage. Just get a good mouth to speak with. And there you go. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
So for Maverick, I will thank you all.
And we do appreciate the support from everybody out there.
Indeed.
Let me hang on a second.
For all the good words and the kindness of everyone, thank you. It means a lot. So,
yes.
Thanks.
And I appreciate the ongoing support from people as well. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the program tonight. Please like, share, subscribe over on Rumble. Hit the notification bell. You know the routine. Share the channel out there. We need to defeat that algorithm. They keep pushing us down in the search engine rankings and taking other steps against us. And I think they may have finally actually fully deleted our Facebook accounts, because I got some weird notifications today after I told them I was going to sue them. So I think that they've taken some more aggressive actions against us, and we'll be talking about that in the nights ahead as well. Now, I will endeavor to be back here tomorrow, same time, same channel, the Maverick News channel, where we have the antivirus programs for your minds. We will
See you on the flip
all.
side.
You betcha. Now I have to find the right thing to close out here. I got it. Should put it someplace where it's just a little bit easier to find every night. But it's somebody gets in here into this system and things got messed around. That's why the microphone was off again tonight, because I swear to God, somebody's coming in and clicking on something and my microphone gets disconnected. I don't understand it, because I set it all up and then everything gets messed up. Now, this is my fault, because I definitely should put it where I can find it more easily. But I've got it now. Here's that stylish closure that we produced. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Love you on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.